This is chapter 61 of A Life of Pi. The next morning, I was not too wet. I was feeling strong. I thought this was remarkable considering the strain I was under, how little I had eaten in several days. It was fine day. I decided to try my hand at fishing. For the first time in my life, after a breakfast of 3 biscuits and 1 can of water, I read that the survival manual had to say on the subject. The first problem arose: bait. I thought about it. There were the dead animals, but stealing food from under the tiger's nose was proposition I was not up to. He would have realized that it was an investment that would bring him an excellent return. I decided to use a leather shoe. I had only one left. The other I had lost when the ship sank. I crept up the lifeboat and gathered from the locker and the fishing kits of the knife and the bucket from the catch. Richard Parker was lying on the side. His tail jumped to life when I was at the bow, but his head did not lift. I did not raft out. I attached the hook to the wire leader, which I tried to tie to a line. I added some lead weights. I picked 3 and had intriguing torpedo-shaped. I removed my shoe and I cut it into pieces. It was a hard work. Leather was tough. I was carefully worked up the hook and the flat piece of hide, not through it but into it, so that the point of the hook was hidden. I let the line deep down. 3 had been so many fish the previous evening that I expected easy success. I had none. The whole shoe disappeared. Bit by bit, slight tug, and the line of the slight tug of the line. Happy freeloading fish, happy freeloading fish, bare hook by bare hook, until I was left with other rubber soles and the shoelace. The shoelace provided unconvincing earthworm. Out of the sheer exasperation, I tried the sole, all of it. It was not a good idea. I felt a slight promising tug, and then the line was unexpectedly light. All I pulled in was a line that had been lost. The whole tackle. The loss that did not strike me as a terrible blow. There was other hooks, leaders, wires, and weights in the kit. Besides the other kit, I wasn't even fishing for myself. I had plenty of food in store. Still, a part of my mind that one that says that we don't want to hear rebuked me. Stupidity has a price. You shouldn't show more care and wisdom next time. Later that morning, the second turtle appeared. It came right up in the raft. It could have reached up a bit of my bottom. It had wanted to. When I turned, I reached for its flipper, but as soon as I touched it, it recoiled in its horror. The turtle swam away. It's the same part of my mind that rebuked me over fishing fiasco scolded me again. What exactly do you intend to feed your tiger, that tiger of yours? How much longer do you think he'll last on 3 dead animals? Do I need to remind you that the tiger is not carrion eater? Carrion eaters, granted, he is only on his last leg. He probably won't lift his nose that much. But don't you think that before he submits to eating puffy, purified zebras, he'll try the fresh, juicy Indian boy just a short dip away? And how we are doing the water situation, you know how tigers get impatient with thirst. Have you ever smelled his breath recently? It's pretty awful. That's a bad sign. Perhaps you're hoping that the lap of the Pacific and the quenching thirsts allow to walk to America. Quite amazing. This limits capacity, exercise, salt, sunderbans tigers have developed. Comment comes from living in a tidal mangrove forest, I suppose, but it is limited capacity. Don't they say drinking too much saline water makes a man eater of a tiger? Oh, look, speak of the devil. There he is. He's yawning. My, what an enormous pink cave. Look at those long yellow stalactites and stalagmites. Maybe today you'll get a chance to visit. Richard Parker's tongue, the size of the color of the rubber hot water bottles, retreated from his mouth closed. He swallowed. I spent the rest of the day worrying myself sick. I stayed away from the lifeboat despite my desire. Predictions. Richard Peter passed time calmly enough. He still had water from the rainfall and didn't seem to be concerned with hunger. Sorry. But he did make various tiger noises, growls, and moans, and the like did nothing to put me at ease. The riddle seemed irresolvable. The fish I needed bait, but I would have bait only once had fish. What was I supposed to do? Use one of my toes, cut off one of my ears? A solution appeared in the late afternoon in its most unexpected way. I pulled myself to the lifeboat. More than that, I had climbed aboard the rummaging through the locker, feverishly looking for an idea that would save my life. I had tied the raft so that it was about 6 feet from the boat. I fancied that the jump would have pulled the loose knot and I could save myself from Richard Parker. Desperation had pushed me to make such a risk. Finding nothing, no bait, no new idea, I had sat up and only discovered that I was dead center in the focus of his stare. He was the only end of the lifeboat where the zebras used to be. I turned my way, sitting up, and looked as if he was patiently waiting for me to notice him. How was it that I hadn't heard him stir? The delusion was I under. I thought I could have outwit him. Suddenly I hit hard across the face. I cried out and closed my eyes. With the feline speed he had just left across the lifeboat and struck me. I was have to face the clawed off and gruesome way I was to die. The pain was so severe I felt nothing. Blessed be shock, blessed that the part protects from much pain and sorrow. My heart at the heart of life in a ruse box. I whimpered. Go ahead, Richard Parker, finish me off, but please, what you must do it quickly. A blow fuse should not be over-tested. He was taking his time. He was at my feet making noise. No doubt he was discovered to be a locker. Its riches I fearfully opened my eyes. It was a fish. There was a fish in my locker. It was flopping around, but like a fish out of the water. It was 15 inches long, and it had wings. It was a flying fish. Slim and dark, gray-blue, dry, fearless wings. And round, unblinking, yellowish eyes. It was a flying fish that had struck me across the face, not Richard Parker. He was still 15 feet away, no doubt wondering what I was going on about, but had seen the fish. I could read a keen curiosity on his face. He seemed about ready to investigate. I bent down, picked up the fish, and threw it towards him. This was a way to tame him. There was a rat. I had gone. A flying fish would follow. Unfortunately, the flying fish in mid-air just ahead Richard Parker's open mouth, the fish swerved and dropped into the water. What happened? With lightning speed, Richard Parker turned his head and snapped his mouth, growls flapping, but the fish was too quick for him. He looked astonished and displeased. He turned to me again. Where's my treat? His face seemed to inquire. Fear and sadness gripped me. I turned with the half-hearted, half-abandoned hope that I could jump onto the raft and he could jump onto me. At that precise instant, there was a vibration in the air, and were struck by a school of flying fish. They came like a swarm of locusts. It was not only their numbers, there were also something insect-like about clicking, whirring sound of wings. They burst out of me the water dozens of them at a time, and their flick-flackering of 100 yards through air. Many dived into the water just before the boat. A number returned to the water bounce and the tarp. Others, less fortunate, fell directly onto the boat, where they started a racket of flapping and flopping and splashing, and the others flew right on into us. Standing unprotected as I was, I felt like I was lying in a martyrdom of Saint Sebastian's. Every fish that hit me was like an arrow entering the flesh. I clutched a blanket and protected myself while also trying to catch some of the fish. I received cuts and bruises all over my body.